Ladies and gentlemen, moves are not done. Corbin Burns, a decision is imminent on his front. We have multiple reports coming out from multiple reporters, including Ken Rosenthal, revealing that a decision could come as soon as today. We're going to break that down on the stream, discuss a massive Garrett Crochet trade, discuss a ton of different things, but a brand new report has just dropped revealing that his decision for Corbin Burns is imminent. It's going to happen either today or tomorrow. So we're going to break all of that down, discuss the latest rumors. We also have assistant Blue Jays GM speaking out and revealing some interesting details about that, as well as John Schneider about 3 minutes ago. He also had some things to say about the Blue Jays' plans for the rest of the offseason. It's between the Giants, it's between the Blue Jays, and let's hope we break another signing today, and hopefully it's a positive one in Corbin Burns. What's up, Shane? What's up, everybody in here? It's going to be a wild one. Again, it's an afternoon stream. We've been kind of rocking these a little bit more lately, but there's a lot of things to go over today, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm excited to bring it to you. I'm also a little bit nervous. I think I've switched my mind. They've also made the Rule 5 signings we can discuss a little bit as well, but we're officially on Corbin Burns watch here, and I'll go over a ton of different reports and things like that. Again, Garrett Crochet was just traded. We can kind of break that down as well here, but you can see here about an hour ago from Ken Rosenthal, Corbin Burns could sign today, suggests senior insider Ken Rosenthal. So basically, if you actually read the art, or you actually listen to the podcast thing here, basically says he wouldn't be surprised at all. He would lean towards Corbin Burns signing at some point today, if not by, tomorrow or Friday at the latest, but most likely today. And then he also mentioned kind of the Blue Jays as favorites alongside, of course, at this point, the San Francisco Giants, because we also know that Garrett Crochet was just traded to the Red Sox for a handful of prospects, which takes them, in theory, you would think, out of the Corbin Burns race. John Heyman just came out and tweeted that, at this point, it seems like all things are pointing to the Red Sox being out on the Corbin Burns front. That being said, and there is a few things. What's up, Peter? That being said, there are some things to kind of go over here. Yeah, apparently the Jays have offered the most money to Corbin Burns. That is what people are saying right now, is that the Jays have the most money offered to Corbin, and that it's basically between him choosing to go back home to San Francisco or, of course, or to come to Toronto for the most money. So a decision is imminent on his front regardless. And it's interesting. MLB Scoops. Oh, that hurts. Okay, so interesting report just dropped, actually. Now, again, take MLB Scoops with a grain of salt. But this just dropped, so MLB Scoops, if you trust him, he said Corbin Burns and the Giants have accelerated talks and a deal may be imminent. And I don't know what may be imminent means, because that's kind of the opposite. Okay. So according to MLB Scoops, a Burns signing may be imminent, which is unfortunate. But, okay, we'll keep you up to date on that. Maybe we will break a signing. However, he has been wrong in the past. He has been wrong several times in the past. But, man, after this Garrett Crochet trade, like, if the Jays don't go down and get something, they might be screwed. Will the Jays sign Santander? I sure hope so. I hate being so pessimistic, but it's impossible to put any faith into Atkins anymore. Yeah, I don't blame you. And I agree with you. The Yankees went out and got Max Fried. The Red Sox went out and got Garrett Crochet. It just makes all the sense in the world for the Jays to pivot now and go get Corbin Burns, though reports are starting to circulate regarding Burns to the Giants, which, again, that's what Peter expected. I'd rather spend money on a bat, but I won't say no to Corbin. Yeah. But I think this is scary, actually. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. MLB Scoops, whether you want to believe him or not, he has some things right, but like accelerated talks and a deal may be imminent. I hate that. I really hope that isn't the case, because I want him to be a Toronto Blue Jay desperately, especially after what's happened. It's interesting because also last night, Scoop said looking very likely that Burns ends up with the Red Sox or with the Giants or Jays. Oh, no. And I agree with Eric Truden here. The Jays simply can't sit there and continue to do nothing to the starting rotation with Frigo to New York and Crochet on his way to Boston. You have to think Corbin Burns will be heading north of the border in short order. You'd hope so, until Scoops comes out and says this. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. He wants to go home. Yeah, and again, he's from there, so I wouldn't blame him if he ends up choosing home. That's the advantage that San Francisco has, but I think Ross Atkins has to come out and or the front office, whoever's making this final decision, and just full send it and just be like, hey, here's extra money. I get the whole. You do also need they need a hitter either way, but if they don't get Burns and they pivot to Santander, Teoscar Hernandez, you're still at a bit of a. I mean, the Red Sox just got Garrett Crochet, and the Yankees have Max Fried. So 2 AL East opponents, rivals, got 2 of the best starting pitchers in the available. Crochet is probably better than, and you can argue they're better than, have a higher ceiling at least than both of those guys. I think it is also going to be 200 mil. And the hitters being rumored to Santander, maybe Jerks and Profar, maybe Jack Flaherty. Yeah, I mean Flaherty's another guy. I don't think he comes to Toronto though, coming from LA, but it's possible. Oh, hate it. Hopefully we'll get him. You can't just be married to valuations. You have to make. Yeah, I agree. Like they can't be married to the numbers. They made the trade yesterday for Andres Jimenez, which I enjoy. I think it was a pretty solid trade, but I also think they desperately need power, and they don't really need a starting pitcher, but when you're looking at what the other teams have done in the AL East, you kind of have to go. You kind of have to go and just make a move. Okay, some more stuff is coming out. So Boris represents, I will give you this. Here's another report that just dropped regarding the Giants and Burns as well as Jays. Boris represents that this is 2 minutes ago, I believe. I don't know when this, I think it was 2 minutes ago. I saw the tweet 2 minutes ago. Boris represents the top remaining starting pitcher on the free agent market, Corbin Burns. The Giants spoke to Burns and Boris before the meetings, and there seemed to be momentum towards a possible deal. But as other starters came off the board and Burns' already high projected price tag looking to go higher, chatter around San Francisco has dipped, and the Jays have moved into the perceived front runner spot. Okay. We're back, and this is from Bay Area Bob. So it's interesting. We have a couple different things now. There's a couple different reporters, a couple different rumors going around here. So this article that just dropped has the Jays as the favorite. So it's kind of tough. I don't mind this though. I don't mind this. And again, it's rumor time here, of course, but I don't hate it. I do not hate it. This is very interesting. Type yes in the chat if you want Corbin Burns. No if you'd rather than pivot to somebody else based on the $250 million price tag. Who would you guys rather? Well, hasn't anyone said anything about Roki Sasaki? Isn't he supposed to be potentially the best pitcher ever come out of Japan? Yes, he is. But the Jays, he can't sign until mid-January. So there are some teams. I'm also not entirely sure, who's doing what here. But this is interesting. Very interesting. They think Cody Bellinger to the Jays. Interesting. A lot of yeses. I think they just do it. And mainly, actually, I think I can probably put this up here. Well, that fits well. This is where I can put my reports, the new reports. But I think at this point, also, if you're new, hit the like button. We're at 450 viewers. Try to get to 50 likes if you're enjoying the stream. If you want Corbin Burns at Toronto, hit the like button. Let's see how many of you want him to come to Toronto. Hit the like button as well. As we're on watch. We also saw this from Mock Bomb. Jays are now in the driver's seat. Again, take this with a grain of salt for Corbin Burns. Giants lurking as posing met with Boris last night. Jays are the highest offer. William, thank you for becoming a member. They're saying Bowden Francis is the real deal. It's possible. I think and that's something we're going to discuss after, of course, all of this. Right now it's ridiculous transaction time. Once the winter meetings die down a bit, I think there's still moves to be done, but it won't be as crazy as it is right now. And ultimately, I think Bowden Francis is a fine number 5 starter. I think he's a fine number 5 starter. I don't know who to believe because this just dropped from the Chronicle. Let me see if I can find it. Apologies for the keyboard sounds. Let's go back here. Go Jays go. I mean, I think it is intriguing, to say the least. Okay, I found it. I found the exact article here. I'm going to save this one. Bregman soon? I sure hope so. Can Vladdy shift back to third given his bad defense? I don't think he will. Shit, I'm not a subscriber to the Chronicle, so I can't see. Giants have signed. I'm looking. Nothing yet. I actually tend to believe people now because you guys broke the Garcia trade or signing to me yesterday. You guys broke the Garcia signing. Why were you listening to everything from the Scott Boras? Can't be just use the price to drive up? Yes, and I think if there is one one positive to take out of them missing out on Juan Soto, it is the fact that and Ben Nicholson-Smith was saying it the whole time. It's kind of like if you miss out on, let's say in this case, Juan Soto, you're still working with Scott Boras. You're building that relationship, and of course, Burns is a Boras client, so I believe he's a Boras client. He definitely is a Boras client, so it's going to be interesting. Mark Feinstein just dropped some very interesting news. Not regarding the Jays necessarily. There's a sense that Alex Bregman could be the next big free agent to sign. The Astros, Red Sox, Yankees, and Tigers are among those in the mix. I think Alex Bregman signs with the Yankees. I don't really want Alex Bregman. Can you guys type in the chat as well, yes or no, if you want Alex Bregman? I'm very curious to see because I know some people... He's like, it reminds me of spring contract a little bit. I wanted him for a bit. I don't know if I want him as much now. Type yes or no. I'm very intrigued by this. I don't think, they're not really favored for him, or they're not really, as of right now, but we don't know I don't think Bregman is necessarily the guy. Curious now. No. Yeah, I just don't think it makes sense. He is a power hitting third baseman. Like, it'd make the team better, but he had a 700 OPS last year. Had a 700 OPS last year. Also, got some comments from the assistant GM. We'll cover. So this is from the Jays assistant GM here. Mike Marov said the Jays aren't done adding by any stretch, praised the Jays' young players, and said hopefully we can raise the ceiling rather than just the floor. And speaking to him right now, it said from the outside looking in, possible areas for upgrades seem to include a power bat, a starting pitcher, and further bullpen help. Quote, sign me up, he replied. This guy should speak more than Ross Atkins, the assistant GM. I want him to speak more than Ross Atkins. He does some things. Mr. Julius with the $10. Thank you so much, Julius. Francis is the wild card for next season. If he pitches like he did in the second half, and the Jays will have one of the best starting rotations in baseball. I agree, and that's whether or not they get Corbin Burns. And thank you for the 10, Julius. It's very, very generous of you. Thank you so much. I think if Bowden has a great season next year, and they get Corbin Burns, though, then you're setting yourself up for a really high ceiling. But if they don't get Corbin Burns, your rotation's still fine, but they better go out and make a splash. So I kind of liked what he had to say, though. Angels and Nationals have shown interest in Gleyber Torres. I don't think the Jays are even in on Gleyber anymore. I don't think that's going to happen. What's up, Jordan? John Lex, 279. What is happening with Burns? Well, Corbin Burns could sign today. It seems like a signing, Ken Rosenthal said, at the very least by tomorrow or the day after. But his prediction was today, or at least he said he thinks probably by the end of the day. So we're just waiting now on Corbin Burns to sign. But there's a lot of things coming out. You have, again, above my head here, you see a report saying that the Jays have moved into the perceived front runner spot. You have reports coming out that Alex Bregman's going to be the first big domino to fall next. So it's interesting. And then, of course, Anthony Santander and Teoscar Hernandez still nothing. I think if you get Corbin Burns, you can really convince yourself that this team is going to be a lot better next season. I think that's the biggest play here. I think that is the biggest play. Not great, Dan. Not great. Not great at all. What do you guys say about... Like, most of you guys didn't want Bregman, right? Yeah, like 1 or 2 yeses. I mean, he's okay. But when you're looking at, like, Corbin Burns, though, a lot better. A lot better. Only silver lining with Jimenez, he had 1 elite season, 300 average with 850 OPS, but can he ever come close to that again? Probably not. Yeah, but even if he hits for league average hitting, he's still putting up a 5 to 6 WAR because he's the best defender in baseball. So it's like, it doesn't address the issues that they have, which they have a lot of them, specifically power. Doesn't address that issue, but it addresses, you made your team better. He's literally the best defender in baseball. So it's like, I think even if he ends up being a league average hitter, they added wins to the team, but they definitely need to go out and get somebody else desperately. Because, I mean, if you don't add any more hitting, then you're looking at literally just, I mean, you have no power right now on this team. I think Burns, Santander, Jock Peterson, then trade for Hernando Hesley. I don't think they're going to trade for Arenado. I would love Burns and Santander and Peterson, though. I think Jock Peterson makes a lot of sense. If you're going all in on the defensive side of the ball with Andres Gimenez, you go ahead and you go all in on someone who can only hit in Jock Peterson. The DH spot is open now. Spencer Horwitz is gone. So you have a DH spot open. And this tweet above me here, this is from a San Francisco Giants article, by the way. So keep that in mind. It is from a San Francisco Giants article, not Jays, which is probably a good thing. This is starting to gain some traction here. So the bottom part is the interesting one. Perceived front runner spot. It's very interesting. Very, very. And this article, I believe, is written by Susan Slusser, who is a senior baseball beat reporter for the Giants. So it's possible. I like it a lot. It's intriguing. Even though, of course, there was the MLB Scoops thing. But he also didn't say that they're going to be taking him. I want the Jays to get both Walkers. DH spot isn't open. Springer going to get half the season as a DH to still only hit 240 with OPS. I don't think they're worried about that. Like, if they have to bench George Springer, I don't think they're going to not get a DH or someone who plays a lot of DH because they have George Springer. I just don't see that happening. Even if they are expecting a bounce back from him. And it's not a full-time DH. It can be someone that plays outfield and DH as well. Ben, thank you so much for the 5. I love the Jimenez deal. He'll drive in runs at least because he doesn't strike out. I love the contact. Plus, we need a good middle infielder. Yeah, I don't hate the signing if other things happen. They need to make sure that other things happen. AKA, they need power. They desperately need power. He can also play shortstop, though. And there's a good world that if they trade Bichette at the deadline, that he is the shortstop of the future for the team. Like, that's probably a realistic outcome. Shane, we can agree to disagree, I think, on this trade. I know a lot of people, like, hate the trade. Some people like the trade. And I'm going to ask the chat now, after having 24 hours-ish, about 18, to kind of mull over the deal, how are we feeling? Yes or no? Do we like the trade? Do we like... Again, this is bearing no other moves at this point. But in a nutshell, do you guys like the Jimenez deal? You basically got... I mean, in my head, you got a great defensive infielder who gives you 4+ WAR for a guy who you're selling at his highest point. The contract's a little bit scary at times, but just yes or no, do you guys like the deal? I don't hate it. I mean, I like it a lot. I think it's a good table setter deal. I mean, I'm curious, though, because a lot of people don't like it. I think it's a good deal. I think most people agree. And there was we'll probably have a video covering it later tonight, I think. But yeah, okay, I think we're all kind of agree. Like, for a guy in Spencer Horwitz, who was a 4A player, he's 7 years old. He's mid-20s. This was a guy a year ago you literally thought was going to maybe get you a reliever. You turn him into a guy under control till 2030 who guarantees you a minimum of like 3.5 WAR. And again, if you don't want to value defensive WAR, then maybe it's a little bit scary. But you're buying super low on Andres Gimenez and selling super high on Spencer Horwitz. So it's intriguing. I like it. However, the budget is the issue. If they don't go out and they get... I will not like the deal if they don't go out and if they go out and get no one else. Because if this was their big splash, I'm not a huge fan. I don't know. Spencer's hitting 25 home runs. I don't know. 25 seems a little bit wild. What's the latest word in Santander? It's been pretty quiet on their front. I think they're waiting for the big fish to come off the board. So Bregman and Corbin Burns. Though John Heyman did just tweet or say on his Bleacher Report thing like an hour ago or half an hour ago that probably the Dodgers are interested in bringing back Teo. So, which is intriguing to me. Trade is no good if they can't get bats. I don't hate that. I think, I mean, in isolation, I don't love the deal, but and for Cleveland, they hate spending money, so they wanted to get off the books of Andres Gimenez. Which, again, the way contracts are going, though, it's a little bit expensive, but if he can even return semi to form, we'll be in pretty good shape here. I mean, I don't know. But again, I keep going back to this tweet by Eric Truden where the Jays simply can't sit there and continue to do nothing to that starting rotation with Fried in New York. Again, Yankees got Max Fried. Red Sox got Crochet. I think, yeah, Jimenez is undoubtedly a better player at this point than Spencer Horwitz. Undoubtedly. I actually, it's not even a debate. Horwitz is probably the better hitter. Definitely the better hitter at this point. But again, he's barely played. He's barely played. But either way, I think, take it easy, hockey. Freeman, yeah, Shayna, video's out on that already. Video already out on that. Freeman all but sent MLB last night. They were out on Teo. I saw the same thing. And I know we covered that in our stream, but John Heyman changed a little bit. What's scary is if you load up the. I agree. I think Horwitz is a better hitter, better glove. That's it. Yeah, but Horwitz doesn't have any positional value though. Is the problem, right? Because he plays. He's like a first/DH. He was really bad defensively at second. They stopped playing him at second towards the end of the season. So it's like, I don't know. I'd rather have Andres Jimenez on my team, and I think most people would. But again, if they don't make any other deals, then I don't really love the deal. Their only off-season acquisition is Andres Jimenez. They didn't fix any of the problems they have. But if they get Andres Jimenez and they get Oscar Hernandez or Anthony Santander with some power, then of course you can. It's a good building block. It is a good building block. How much do you think Vladdy will make? A lot of money. A lot of money. And I don't know if they get it done. And then maybe, and the Red Sox extend Crochet, then the deal is only good if they get Santander. I would agree. I think either way, I think in a nutshell, the deal's fine. But if they go ahead and get Santander, then it makes a lot of sense. What do you make of a Relvis Martinez and all this? He was supposed to be second baseman. No. Third baseman. He could be the opening day third baseman. I don't really know what they do with third base. I think they kind of just ride it out. I think they just ride out third base. Like maybe Ernie Clement, maybe something like that. I think, yeah, Vladdy's definitely in the $400, $500 million range. I am Meep, yep. I think 500 million over 15, 16 years, like 500 million over 15 years, something like that would make some sense. But I mean, right now the infield's looking at, I guess, whoever your third baseman is, and then you have, I would say under 550, but close. I think Bo Bichette at short. You have Andres Jimenez at second. You have Vladdy at first. I mean, yeah, if he goes to the open free agency, he could get a lot. Or Elvis can't be a third baseman. He's the permanent DH. Very possible. William G. Thank you so much, William G. Atheist, for the 5. What about Jimmy? I liked him better than Romano. Love the signing. Thank you, William G. Atheist. Love the signing a lot. Like a lot as well. Also, we're 16 likes away from 100. If you guys could hit that like button. Thank you. Again, if you want them to sign Burns, hit the like button. Seems like a lot of you do. They need to make some moves, though, when it comes to hitting. And they need to do it fast. Because reports are starting to fly. Atkins going to be fired by June. It's possible. Shane, let them finish their offseason. Now, if they come out and they have an offseason similar to last offseason, then sure. But they made one move, 2 moves so far, I guess. Nick, do you think the Red Sox are going to win the division after the Crochet deal? I feel like they will personally. Their odds are plus 800, and if I was a betting man, I'd smash that. I don't think they're going to win the division. I still think the Orioles are ahead of them. The Yankees are probably ahead of them, but it's close. Like the Yankees, I don't really know. Well, Ray, it was offered, or I guess you mean USD. Technically, they offered a 1 billion Canadian to Juan Soto. Nobody cans a GM mid-year. It rarely happens. Like probably by the end of the like if they miss the playoffs again, or if they get eliminated without winning a playoff game. Okay, I got an eye emoji. Interesting. There's some rumors circulating around surrounding Corbin Burns, but again, I don't know. I don't think I believe him. Very interesting though. A lot of not fake reporters, but a lot of interesting reporters this time of year. A lot of interesting reporters this time of year. Hmm. Interesting. Blue Jays finishing last in the division. I hope not. I agree with signing Burns isn't a bad. No, they need to go for Burns. I mean, they need to get Burns and they don't need Burns, but they really do kind of need some splash. It would just make everyone feel better if they got Corbin Burns because everybody else in the AL East is making big moves. Which, to be fair, like, I don't know. I'm seeing some things. I don't know about 500 million for 10 years. I don't know if Vladdy is worth that. To be honest, like, but maybe. I don't know if he's worth that. I don't know if he's worth 500 million for 10 years. Do you guys think Vladdy is worth 50 million a year? There's no world. There's no way. I mean, unless like I just don't think he's worth it. Like maybe 30 million a year, 35. There's no world he's a first baseman. Yeah, a lot of chatter right now about this report that is on the screen. The Jays have moved into the perceived front runner spot. And again, this report right here is from a insider / beat writer for the Giants. So we'll wait to hear confirmation on it. But I hope so. Perceive front runner is an interesting way. We had Ken Rosenthal come out and say that he's gonna, be a Blue Jay. He had better numbers than Soto. I don't think he did though. I don't think he did. I don't think we should compare Vladdy and Soto. I think Vladdy is still a generational player though. He's not. I don't think he's close to Soto level. 940 OPS. What's Soto have? Like a 998? 989. Yeah, Horwitz was flipped from the Pirates to the from the Guardians to the Pirates. Where's Roki going? My guess would be the Padres or the Dodgers. Vlad is the premier free agent next year, is easily getting 600. Man, I don't know. For a first baseman though, it'd be tough. Like it just makes it very difficult. Now, if you would accept like 500 over, but like again, the way the market is right now, it's kind of crazy. I would tend to agree with you guys on that. John Vladdy 850 for 15. I mean, he's gone at 850. I don't know who is paying Vladdy 850. I mean, he's a phenomenal hitter, one of the best in the league, and he's young, super young. But like, he's the first baseman, and I love Vladdy. Vlad can become a generational hitter, never be a generational player. I guess he's limited positionally. He is limited positionally for sure, which again kind of goes into and plays into the fact of like how much is he actually worth? Like we were talking about 300 million if he's worth 300, but then we saw Soto almost get $1 billion, so it's crazy. I think 400 million is possible. I think 500 is pushing it a bit, but it could be possible. Depends how well he does. Who do we get for third base? That's the big question. I think they just ride with who they have. Unless they go out and get they're not going to get Bregman, I don't think. But I don't really know who else they could get. Jay shot for 350. I'm pretty sure they probably have already. I would like to think they've already offered 350. I mean, yeah, like Vladdy's very good though. Really good hitter. Not a great base runner, not fast, doesn't steal bases, and not a good defender when it comes to adding value. Like he's a solid first baseman. Well in the Gold Glove, of course. But like at first base, you can only add so much value anyways. What about trade for Bohm? I know Peter hates that idea. It's not terrible though. It's not horrible. If 26-year-old David Ortiz was hitting the miraculous climb, you're telling me he wouldn't get 600? I mean, Shane, the problem with that is that Ortiz was great for every single, season. Whereas Vlad, he's been up and down. He had a really good year last year, a couple rough years, not rough, but not phenomenal years before that, and then was phenomenal, of course, in 2021. So I don't know. He is, Corey. Yep. Like, he's coming off a 2 WAR year before last year. So he's had 2 7 WAR seasons, basically, or 2 6 WAR seasons, and then a couple of 2 years. I don't know. I love Vladdy, though. I just don't know if he's getting 500 million. I mean, he might. He very well might. Santander, 5 years, no world. I think Santander's max is like a 4.9, maybe a 5.110, 5.100. Springer's 4th outfielder now. Same as Varsho. Maybe. Corbin Birds could sign it. Yep, that's the report. Let me grab it up for you. You can see this here. Corbin Birds could sign today, featuring insider Ken Rosenthal. I could do 12 years-ish, 500, but it's probably more than that. Like, more years, more term. Also, at 145 likes. Shout out to everybody in here. If we can get to 200 likes, I think I guess we had 1,000 likes last year at the Ohtani stream, but try to get to 200 likes. Can you picture Vladdy anywhere other than Toronto? I think if the Jays are good this season, they will re-sign him. If they aren't, they'll flip him. Possible. Barger, Warner, Martinez, and Clan are all third base options. Maybe flip a couple of them. I think they are looking to trade some of those guys you just mentioned. In a deal for a reliever. I think they're gonna flip some of their infield depth in a deal for their reliever. I think for a reliever, because we know that they're probably not gonna sign a reliever at this point. Maybe Jonathan Loizaga, we've heard, but like other than that, I don't think they're gonna sign any more relievers. So it's interesting. I think Vladdy is leaving. It's very possible. He said he wants to be in Toronto. We have Bichette say they want to be in Toronto. Sorry. And interesting. So there were 5 teams in on the Guerrero Crochet trade. The GM just spoke out and revealed 5 teams. The Mets were one of them. I mean, I agree, Shea. I think they do need to lock him up. And if it ends up costing a ton of money, he's doing it anyways. Do you think we can get Bregman? No. I don't think they want Bregman. But, I mean, maybe they could, because I think they screwed Vladdy. I don't know. I don't think he's going to go to the Mets. I mean, it's possible. 8 years, 320. That's possible, too, like a shorter term with opt-outs. I mean, it's going to be a deal of something like that. Now, whether it's that amount of money, we've seen Vladdy linked to the Astros a bunch. We've seen a bunch of different things. I agree. They do need Santander. I know this morning Atkins basically said that there was no room for Wagner and Horwitz, and they like Wagner better. He's a gamer, more versatile, and similar or better bat. Yeah, I mean, they weren't going to get rid of Wagner. They just traded for him in the Kikuchi deal, and Spencer Horwitz was a 4A player. At least the Jays treated him that way for a very long time. I mean, he's mid-20s now. Yeah, I think Santander is the number 1 target. We've seen contract talks at like 5,100, 490. 4 years, 90 million. I'm talking about, not $490 million for Santander. Just so we're aware here. Are you talking about the Andres Jimenez, Robs? I think it's a solid deal. He probably, I don't know, he could sign like any minute. You never really know with a lot of these people, with a lot of these players. We get Turner, I'm selling my flex bag. I think Santander and Burns is kind of the dream. I think Teoscar, Hernandez, and Sean Manaea is like a plan B dream. It's like a plan B. You think Vladdy is re-signing with the Jays? Probably. I think, again, we have reports coming out about Burns. Burns is the number 1 target right now for the Toronto Blue Jays. All reports are saying that. And the reason they haven't made any of these other moves, and I mean, the market for Teo and Santander, we haven't heard really any other teams heavily linked to Santander, at least besides the Blue Jays, which is interesting. Which is very, very interesting. And again, Red Sox just acquired Garrett Crochet. You look at what the Jays need to do now. I mean, the Yankees have Max Fried, Garrett Crochet. That's and then the Orioles, of course, if they bring back Corbin Burns, they of course had him last year. They made the trade for him, give up a couple guys. We need him. I like the Jimenez deal if we get Santander. Otherwise, it's horrendous for the Jays. I understand. Understand the premise there. Yeah, he still wasn't really hitting for a ton of power in Horwitz, but it's interesting. It's interesting. Burns going to the Mets. I mean, I hope not. They'd be able to outbid everybody in theory. Though they just spent, a lot of money on Juan Soto. So it's like Walker would be an interesting signing for a year bounce back. 8 years, 190 for Burns. He is 100% touching 200. Any news on what the Jays offered Burns? I've heard 6 years, 210. That was the latest offer I heard. So take that with a grain of salt. But 6-210. So like rumors are. That's what the rumor mill is saying. Who do you think the Jays will draft number 8? I haven't even had a chance to look fully into this draft yet. Been so locked in on all the transactions. But again, I would say he's going to finish off 260, 270 for Corbin Burns. I think if they don't make the playoffs this year, Ross Atkins is fired. If they don't win a playoff game, I also think Ross is fired. But like for the Jays, they probably are going to have to give him like 6-250. It's like go 7-280. Who cares? He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. I mean, like what are we like? He had one mid-year and he starts every single game. Almost 200 innings in 3 seasons in a row. Like he's one of the most durable pitchers. Yeah, he's 30 years old, but like still, you just go for you go for a move like this. I think there's a good chance Bo gets traded at the deadline if the Jays aren't competing. And I think Andres Jimenez slides in so they don't have to look for a backup shortstop. If, of course, it's interesting. He's had a serious regression. Corbin, he's had regression in Ks per 9. But like, they also, towards the second half of the year last season, his Ks per 9 went up. So it's like, I don't hate it. It has, I mean, he's still striking out like 8 per 9, but it went back up gaming in the second half of the year. So that's why I'm a bit less concerned about that. But there is definitely some regression to be had there. And I guess there's a world where he could easily, regress a little bit. But like the advanced metrics are in his favor here. I was wishing the Jays got Burns last year. They weren't going to trade for a 1-year rental. And we're lucky they didn't because they didn't have offense anyways. They had literally no offense. So it's like, it had no offense. So if they would have traded for Burns, he probably would have walked. Yeah, Juju, it's happening either today or tomorrow. Ian, I'm there with you. I think there is a chance he goes to the Giants. Again, you can see on the above my head here. This is the most recent report. The Giants, can you see that? Right there. The Giants have moved into the perceived front runner spot. Or sorry, the Jays have moved into the perceived front runner spot. Yeah, Mike, it's a different budget though. Like Soto has a different budget than in theory these other guys, but there's also reports coming out that like their budget for Burns would also be a different budget. So just go ahead and spend it. Spend the money. Sign Jeff Hoffman. Interesting. I mean, I don't think it's been big on a reliever. Your reaction to the Horwitz trade, I love it. If you're talking about the Jimenez for Horwitz. Yeah, Shay, that's true, but I think they were always going to flip Horwitz and keep Naylor. I mean, there was a second there where people were hoping that they were going to flip Naylor back to the Jays in the Horwitz deal, but that ultimately didn't happen. To get Burns, are they still in on a guy like Santander? Yeah, for sure. I think they definitely do. Would you have traded Bichette earlier? No. I mean, you weren't going to trade him. I mean, maybe before last season, but like you're not going to trade him now. He's coming off of the worst season of his career. You would be selling exponentially low, extremely low. Who could the Jays bring in as a backup to Kirk? A lot of the options are gone, like Elias Diaz, maybe like a Tyler Heineman, someone who's familiar with the system already. We saw Danny Jansen go. Like, it's interesting. There's not many catchers left at all. Not many catchers left. It's crazy. I would rather pay Andres Jimenez 23 mil than pay Bo 23 mil. I think they definitely would pay Bo 23 mil. It's just a matter of A, if he wants to stay, and B, he's getting more than that. He is definitely getting more than that. I'm very curious to see what comes out regarding this Goldschmidt 1-year Jays to the DH. Huh. Intriguing. 8/256. Again, the latest report is that he is favorites to go to Toronto. That being said, Jays have been favorites for a lot of pitchers or a lot of players in their day. We're 20 likes away from 200 as well. If you guys could hit that like button. Again, if you're new as well, we wanted to hit 15,000 before Christmas. So if you guys could hit the subscribe button if you're new and not subscribed, it would mean the world to myself and Peter as well. Daily Jays content, so help us towards that goal. So make sure to smash that subscribe button. Smash that subscribe button. It'd be interesting if Bregman goes to the Yankees. Isn't Vryonis a catcher? Not anymore. Briefly with Arizona. You're saying trading Bichette now would have the most value because of his year of control? I mean, I think if you let him have a bounce back like season, he plays good until the deadline. He has like a 300 batting average, 840, 830 OPS, then he'll be good. John said Bailey and yeah, like there is definitely a few catchers, but I don't know how much they're gonna spend. Like in theory, they only have $20-25 million. If they don't, Bassett, okay, that makes a lot more sense. This would be the time to trade Bassett if they want to open up salary. Like I've seen some things if they want to open up, moves or open up avenues for more moves, then they go ahead and they trade Bassett. That opens up $20+ million, and then you go ahead and you flip that into something else. Yankees will not take a 2017 Astro. Maybe not. Maybe not. Be surprising. You'd be surprised though. Grichuk? I hope not. I would be thoroughly disappointed if Grichuk is their off-season acquisition. There's no way, though. I'd be beyond disappointed. Trade Berríos. Trade Springer opens up 25 mil. Yeah, but you'd have to give up something. I mean, if you trade Springer, give up like a mid prospect, and then sign somebody else with that 25 million, sure, we can start talking. Thank you guys for letting me hit 20 likes or 210. Crazy stream. It's too quiet. Yeah, it's that time of day. I think things are going to drop soon, though. Feel like something's brewing. Burns probably goes to the Mets. They have a ton of money. They don't care about penalties. Yeah, it's said between the Mets and the Jays, though. Or the Giants and the Jays. So unless the Mets come in, yeah, there's no world to trade Berríos. He's their best starter. At least most reliable starter, you could argue. Again, he's like a middling 3 ERA. He's reliable, and that's kind of what they need. He hasn't had a great... He's kind of just who he is. Middling Berríos, that is. Like a middling 3 ERA. Besides that 1 year. The patented good old 2022. 2022. Bad times. 5.23 ERA. Crazy. Yeah. Vryonis is injured at the moment. Kai, I might have some info to break to you all here shortly. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Just double checking some things. Looks like Boris and Burns are leveraging the Jays to get a better deal from the Giants in a closer match. Rahul, thank you so much for the $5. It is very possible that that is the case. It is very possible. Thank you again for the 5. I'm hoping that isn't the case, but possible. It is very, very possible. A lot of players think the Jays have all the money they want to spend in Soto for other players, not to the budget. Yeah, unicorn budget. Now, they could translate that unicorn budget to Corbin Burns. We've seen some things about that, like some of the unicorn budget to Corbin, which is intriguing. Susan Slusser keeps saying the Giants are quiet on Burns. Did she tweet again? Checking. It's the time of year. Slusser, sorry. See what she's saying. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Burns would be a great addition to our rotation. We definitely need him. Okay, so I have a little bit of info for you guys, but again, take it with a grain of salt. I'll give it to you in a minute. I just got a DM. So take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm just gonna confirm this. But in the meantime, we'll go with this. Heard the Jays might get Burns. Deep dive Jays. Thank you so much. 279. We need another pen arm and 2 bats. I think you need another flyer reliever, 2 bats, and something else as well. If they sign Burns, there's a decent chance either Gosse or Bassett are traded. I also tend to agree with that. I think if you sign Burns, it makes Bassett more expendable to open up money for a hitter. I believe Peter is going to call in, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just get some things rocking here. Allow me to also have I got a DM, which I'll give to you guys in a minute here, just confirming it. Now, again, take it with a grain of salt. We all have sources this time of year. We all hear things. And I'm not proclaiming that I have sources, but I'm definitely not doing that. But I will give you some info in a minute from what I'm hearing. Take it with a massive grain of salt, please. Don't run away with it and say Nick said this. That being said, we're going to get Peter in the call here. Just get his thoughts in a minute once he's ready. Trade for Bohm, very interesting. I think the stove is starting to heat up a little bit. We're seeing some things now. Okay. Shane, thank you so much for the 5. We need to stop giving Rogers excuses. Their books are public, just like ATL. They had $525 million in profit in the Jays just last year. No excuses. I agree. I don't want to. I don't really want to give them any, leverage or anything like that, or any, runway here. I'm getting Peter in here. Give me a moment. You guys aren't going to hear him for a second. All right, Peter, just give me a minute. Just going to add your audio in. Give me a minute. Susan Slusser has been raining on my Burns to San Francisco parade for like 2 days. It's possible, but he gets the job done. Peter, are you there? Okay, just gonna add your audio in. Give me a sec, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting Peter in the call here. I'm gonna go with this should work. Give me a moment. We would trade Santander plus Tanner Scott if we don't land Burns. I don't think there's a world where they go for Tanner Scott. I don't see that happening at all. They already made their big, in theory, splash. All right, Peter, go ahead and speak.
Yeah, welcome in.
Let us know if you can hear him. Let us know if you can hear Peter in the chat. I think it all should be good. Sorry to interrupt you.
I could see that a lot of people in this stream, Nick. Corbin Burns.
I had to interrupt you. We got a $10 donation, Peter. I apologize again. But
yeah, go ahead.
Let's get gaming. The takes are crazy in this chat. Getting Burns isn't a bad thing. The problem is if we don't get him in our rotation, has a problem to implode. We need 2 big bats still. I agree. I don't think Burns solves everything. I think bats are needed. But shout out to everybody in here as well. Let's try to get to 300 likes or almost 800 people in here. Peter, they can hear you loud and clear. You can continue speaking. Let's get gaming. I agree with you. I don't think Burns is the be-all, end-all. That being said, I think it helps an awful lot.
Yeah, and my only worry with Burns, Nick, is not about him as a player. It's if they sign him, what is left to go around? That is my worry with that he's a fantastic player. He finished in the top 2 in Cy Young voting or top 5 in Cy Young voting last year. He's fantastic. There's no doubt about it, but I look at the rotation as currently constructed right now. Gosman, Berríos, Bassett, Bowden, Francis. That's pretty solid, and all of those guys can pitch deep into ball games. So I'm looking at more of a mid-tier guy like Sean Manaea or Walker Buehler, someone of that nature, to go along with a big bat acquisition, because that's what I think Jays truly need. Burns would be a luxury, but I don't know how much they're willing to spend in free agency. I don't know how far beyond their luxury tax threshold they're willing to go. That's my only concern.
Yeah. And I think ultimately, if they go ahead and they get a guy like Burns, I'm hoping that that's diving into their exception unicorn type budget to which they can
Right.
actually go ahead and get other people. And if that's the case, then I'm perfectly fine with it. If they go out and they get Burns and then their only other available option is a guy like Max Kepler, then it might be an issue. I would rather, I think, Manaea plus Teoscar Hernandez over Corbin Burns, but I also think they need to get Corbin Burns and still get one of the other two guys. But if they get Corbin Burns and it's a
Yeah.
part of their unicorn budget and then they can go out and get a hitter, I think that's where I think just getting Burns opens up the possibility to have an A-plus offseason is kind of where my hope is coming. That being said, it's Ross Atkins we're talking about here. So
yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there. But you got to believe that if they do get Burns, that's going over their previously um, allotted budget anyway. So you would suspect that maybe they could go even further than that. I don't know. I think that I still like the Jimenez deal. I kind of like it less now that I know it's still going to count for around 15 to 19 million against the cap next year. But when we're comparing him and Spencer Horwitz, I think he's a better player than Horwitz. And if he bounces back with the bat, then you got yourself a pretty damn good player there. But a lot more work needs to be done here, Nick.
Julius.
Garcia, Sandlin, and Jimenez, not enough.
Yeah, I don't think it's enough either. Mr. Julius with the $10. Thank you so much. The Blue Jays can get Santander, Hernandez, and Burns for the 700+ million they offered Soto. And in a dream world, that is what they would do. But I don't think it works quite that simple for them. I don't think they want to spend $700 million on other players. And I agree with you. Jimenez is hitting the cap a lot here, or the cap. It's not basketball, but the counting towards the amount of money they're getting and their luxury tax. Kind of their cap threshold here. I'm a bit less excited. I still love the deal depending on what the other moves are at the end of the day, but they need a hitter desperately.
Yeah.
And it is completely quiet on that front. And Peter, I don't know if, there's some, I don't know if I know you're at work here, but a report dropped, MLB Scoops kind of said that the Giants are making a big push, but an article dropped from Susan Slusser, who's a senior beat writer for the San Francisco Giants. And I'm going to read it out again for everybody who's new. We have over 840 people in here. If you're new, hit the subscribe button as well. We're trying to get to 15,000 and the like button. But a report came out saying Boris represents the top free agent left on the board. And as other starters came off the board and Burns' already high projected price tag looked to go higher, chatter about San Francisco has dipped and the Jays have moved into the perceived front-runner spot. That is as of an hour ago. That was an article that dropped an hour ago by senior writer Susan Slusser. So whether you want to believe, the MLB Scoops guys, some of the other reporters, whatever you want to go for here, that's a Giants writer saying this as well as a couple other things. So it seems like the Jays at this point are the front-runner, but it's not confirmed or anything yet, though I do think a deal is happening soon.
I think they're interchangeable, honestly, Nick, because if you take a look at some of the other teams that were rumored in on Corbin Burns, the Yankees, they're presumably out after giving Max Fried all of that money, and the Boston Red Sox as well, they're going to be out after selling the farm for Garrett Crochet, who has 2 years of cheap control left. So I don't think they're going to allocate all of those assets to Corbin Burns. So in theory, it becomes a two-team race between the Jays and the Giants. And you could make a case for either one of them being the favorite. In the Giants' case, I mean, they've already spent some significant money this offseason.
Hometown as well.
He's from California.
Yeah,
he's from California. And Blue Jays' case, I mean,
money.
They're rumored to have offered the most money, but they were also rumored to have offered the most money to Soto, and that was not the case. So I'm going to wait and see on all of those details that are coming out. But yeah, I think it's between those two teams right now. It's just a matter of who wants to get this deal done more, and will the Blue Jays be willing to get this deal done, considering some of the financial constraints that they're working with.
Yeah. Edward Rogers talks a big game. He wanted to go head-to-head with Cohen. He failed, and repercussions should be less fans spending money. They can't patch it up this year. Whose fault is that but bad management? I mean, I agree. This is their last chance. They started off with a solid move, at least in my eyes, in Andres Jimenez. I think that was a solid move. And again, they're making a strong push here for Corbin Burns. Nightingale said Red Sox or the Giants. I'm going to check that. That would be interesting. I mean, the Red Sox, again,
I can't see the Red Sox being in on him.
There actually is an article 3 minutes ago that dropped from Bob Nightingale. Let me get it open here.
Do you see that happening? Do you think that's a realistic possibility, Nick?
No. But Garrett Crochet is cheap control. So, and they gave up. I mean, they still kept their big guys here. So, okay, I'll get this up. I don't think they do. John Heyman also said it like an hour ago. He doesn't think they do. So Bob Nightingale, Scott Boras was fatigued Wednesday. I don't know. I'm not going to read it. His voice raspy as Bob Nightingale's writing a poem here. But yeah, before he leaves town, he could have one more massive contract finalized with ace Corbin Burns expected to land a deal exceeding $250 million. Boras has been in serious talks with the Giants for Burns and has spoken to the Red Sox and others, with Boras acknowledging the possibility of Burns. So he doesn't say Jays. He says that they're in deep conversations with the Giants. Doesn't mention Jays. Not too worried about that. As Shane comes in with the 10 gifted memberships, Eric, Troy, Laura, Mike, Doug, Cameron, Nick, and Mackenzie comes in with the $10. Hold on, Peter. Well, a lot of things going on.
Wow, it's huge.
The team needs to spend the big bucks to compete with the big boys. They are not developing their talent internally and strongly using free agents who don't necessarily want to play for the Jays. Mackenzie, thank you so much for the 10. I agree. They need to use their advantage of being a big corporation and actually spend money. They need to do that. Thank you so much for the 10. And Shane, of course, thank you so much for the 10 gifted. If you did get a gifted membership, you can put a emote in the chat. We have a bunch of new emotes coming as well as some other things. So thank you so much. And thanks, Shane, in the chat. And Mackenzie, thank you again. And as things are happening, Peter, I have a very suspicious feeling here that something is going to happen quickly. We just got an article from Bob Nightingale 3 minutes ago. Maybe not on this stream necessarily, but again, they've been in serious talks, the Giants. I don't love that verbiage, but if you want to spin it in a positive front, we're hearing from other people that it is between the Giants and the Jays. Bob Nightingale didn't mention the Jays. He did say others. I don't know. It's interesting to me. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Again, I think this is a two-team race. It just depends where the priorities are at. And the way I see it, Nick, is that this should be a year where the Blue Jays front office has carte blanche because the American League is so wide open. The New York Yankees have taken a step back. The rotation is very good. I'm not taking anything away from that. But they don't have Juan Soto anymore. Okay, and the Boston Red Sox, okay, sure, they got Garrett Crochet, but they lost Tyler O'Neill. They're not a team that really scares me. I think the AL East is wide open. I think the AL in general is just wide open. So we've seen the kind of revenue that having a competitive team brings in. Whether you have superstar players or whether you just have a collection of star players, if you make the playoffs, and you're a Toronto team, you're going to have high attendances. You're going to have a lot of revenue coming in from jersey sales, ticket sales, whatever it may be. So I think this is a year where you need to just go for it. So I'm giving the Blue Jays the green light, the Peter green light. It doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things because I'm not the one calling the shots from an owner's chair. But I think this is a golden opportunity for them with all the talent available in free agency and in the trade market and the considerably weaker American League. This is their chance. And Vladdy and Bo are hitting free agency, and that's looking more and more bleak by the day. So something's got to start kicking into gear here.
Yeah. And as we approach, of course, after these winter meetings and as the season approaches, we'll get into more details about, our predictions for the AL East. But it's very intriguing. And again, you see the report from earlier from Ken Rosenthal saying that Burns is going to be most likely signing today. I like the Peter green light. Go for it. I agree. And then Bob Nightingale is starting to, we know how this all works now. We've seen a ton of different things. Like for the Red Sox, before they got Crochet, Peter, we were mentioning about it. Like the Craig Breslow canceled his meeting and we all thought it was for Burns, but it was actually for Garrett Crochet. I think something is going to happen tonight. And the unfortunate thing is, Peter, I have basketball tonight at 8:00. So I hope a Burns signing doesn't happen while I'm there, but it is interesting. It is interesting. And Peter, I'm going to throw this out there as well because I know people are asking about it. I did receive a DM, and again, I've been talking. This is somebody I know from the past a little bit. They say they have sources, and again, he's been right personally with some things in the past, but take it with a huge grain of salt. We all know I'm not trying to feed into the fake source train or anything like that. That being said, take it with a huge grain of salt. I'm just sprinkling this in there. It's not a report by me or anything like that, Peter, but I was told about 30 minutes ago that something is happening soon. So take that with a grain of salt. We'll see if anything ultimately does happen. That was before this Bob Nightingale article and things like that dropped. So take that with a grain of salt. Said that something is happening soon. And this was also, he's gotten some things right in the past that I know about. That being said, I'm not claiming to be. I'm not a reporter or anything like that, but I just want to throw that out there, Peter, in case people were curious.
Okay, well, definitely a cryptic message by you there.
I can't give too much.
something is happening.
I think regarding Burns, whether it's the Jays or not, that's all. That's what. Okay, that's all I was told. That's all I was told. Don't shoot the messenger.
I'm gonna err on the side of caution here, and
I agree.
And not go with this nameless individual, but you may know him better than I do. So who am I to say? But like I mentioned in a video earlier, Nick, I just think all of these conversations are really kept internally, and none of us had any inclination about the Andres Jimenez either. Like this was something that came totally out of left field. So whether these sources, even the Jays guys, Ben Nicholson-Smith, Arden Swelling, Shai Davidi, they had nothing on this because they are not privy to those conversations. So maybe there's some chatter every now and then about the big free agents, but when it comes to the moves that are flying under the radar, we truly have no idea. And we may think the Blue Jays are in on Burns. They might be in on Nick Pivetta for all we know, or somebody else of that nature. We truly have no idea what could come next. We didn't see the Dalton Varsho trade happening for the Blue Jays when it went down, but it ended up happening. So again, we just got to wait and see. I think all the stories that are coming out now are about the top dogs, and we're not really hearing much chatter about anyone else, which to me can work as a positive for the Blue Jays. Maybe they could get creative in the way that they're spending their money and try to build their team through trades or through kind of unconventional ways.
Yeah. Bob Nightingale says we're out, so we're out. He didn't say we're out. You can see this here. He just doesn't acknowledge the Jays, but he says Red Sox and others. And this may have been written before the Guerrero Crochet thing. And again, you can see in the right above me, this is from the most, probably the most prominent, one of the most prominent Giants beat reporters saying the Jays have moved in the front runner spot. So we're hearing a ton of different things going on right now regarding who's the favorites, who's not the favorites. We don't know who the favorites are at this very moment. I think I agree with you, Peter. It's 1A, 1B, I think, at this point. I think it's either going to be the Jays or it's going to be the Giants. And if it's the Giants, then so be it. They probably go out and spend a lot of money. They probably go out and spend a lot of money if it is the Giants. That being said, I don't think the Jays are going to outbid for him here. They have home field advantage.
I just don't think they need to. And again, it's no slight on Corbin Burns. You think I don't want one of the top pitchers in baseball on my favorite team? Absolutely. But we've kept hearing about this luxury tax, the $38 million. And now that window is shrinking even more after the Andres Jimenez trade. So what's left to go around? And I'm sorry, if you get Corbin Burns and nothing else on the offensive side of things, this is not a playoff team. At least I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It'd be tight. You need to
you'd need a severe bounce back out of a lot of guys, and that's wishful thinking considering the way that they've performed in the last couple of years.
Yeah, and maybe they go for a buy low guy like Yoan Moncada. Maybe they hope for a bunch of bounce backs if they get Burns. But I think if they get Burns, you like to think that would give them more reasons to go for bigger and better players, aka Teoscar Hernandez, Anthony Santander. Like a Santander Burns fit would be almost perfect in there. It would be almost
it would make perfect sense if you're spending that much,
especially
money
after the Jimenez deal.
Yeah, if you're spending that much money on a 31-year-old starting pitcher who's probably going to be your ace for the next 5 years, then you would think that you'd want to surround him with a little bit more talent as opposed to wasting $30 million a year on a guy who is going to be basically a Ferrari in the driveway of a halfway house.
Yeah. And you also have internal guys. I mean, maybe they hope for Relvis Martinez bounce back, or bounce backs of that nature, which I don't necessarily think they're gonna fully do, but it could definitely happen regardless. Especially he's back in June. Yeah, could see Tucker going to the Cubs. I don't know. It's like they should just spend the money. I think at this point, just spend the money and figure the rest out. Like if spending the money is going to take you out of any races for Santander or anything like that, then maybe don't spend the money. Go for those guys instead. But like, play like you have money. Pretend you have money because you do. You have the money.
You do. Yes, you do. And we look at all the top teams around Major League Baseball, Nick. What do they have in common? They spend. They spend a ton of money. So if you want to be a World Series contender, or if you want to be a playoff team that can go deep at any given moment, you have to spend. You have to overspend. You have to outspend your opponents. That's just the way that baseball is moving in. And, if you want to be successful in this game with no salary cap, I don't think money can really be an issue. Look at Steve Cohen. He's got FU money, man. He's just going after whoever he wants, and he's getting whoever he wants because he won't be denied. I'm not telling Rogers to be reckless in their spending and do all of that, but that's kind of the model that has been.
I'm honestly fine with them being reckless in their spending for once.
Yeah,
unless it means not getting a hitter, but like they traded for a position player that is defensive first, which is an interesting. Like you have to think that they're not stupid, and that they need power. They literally said that themselves.
Just don't look at our comment section.
Yeah, Ross is pretty. Maybe do we? Actually, I'm not going to ask that. I'm not going to ask that in the chat. But do you guys think Ross Atkins is? He's not a stupid person. He's obviously a very successful person, and I think they get handicapped too much or too many times by their strict valuations. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. Like,
I'm not going to make any excuses for them. No, I don't think
that's not even an excuse. That's just them. Well, that's a flaw of the front office. I guess I should rephrase it as.
I just don't think. I don't think they're good at what they do. I don't.
Yeah, that's another way to put it. They've been bad with the Toronto Blue Jays. That being said, they've got them to the playoffs a good few times, all these different things, but they haven't won a playoff game. So
it's not good enough, Nick. It's not good enough, especially with the budget that you've been working with year in, year out. It's not enough what we've seen out of this version of the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, at the end of the day, these are baseball people that are a lot smarter than us when it comes to baseball decisions. But I can call a spade and say when they haven't been doing a good job. And when I look on the surface, they haven't won a playoff game. They don't really have a track record of success here. So what are we talking about? They haven't been good at what they've been doing. Are they smart people? Yes. They're baseball executives. Those have to be smart individuals. But have they made the right decisions all the time? Have they led to Blue Jays success? No.
Needs to, though.
That's the way I'm evaluating.
Yeah, and they have. This is their last chance. And if they go out and they get Corbin Burnes tonight, then sure. Yeah, exactly. Unless they extend Mark Shapiro. If they miss the playoffs or don't make a big move and then they extend Mark Shapiro, I would be, and Ross Atkins for that matter, I'd be upset. And I think ultimately, I don't know. I think Corbin Burnes, Ben, call a spade. Yeah, you're right. Thanks for the $2. At the end of the day, like, I think Burnes signs tonight or tomorrow, and whether or not if the Jays don't get Burnes and then they miss out on Teo and Santander somehow, we're in for a 2020 I guess 3 offseason V2 here. Though they got Jimenez, so maybe he's a little better.
Let's I don't know. Let's not take it that far as of yet. But
if they get none of them, I'm saying if they don't get Burnes, Santander, or Teoscar.
Look, they're still on the board, so
agreed.
Let's not go too negative as of yet. But yeah, their backs are against the wall, and you hope that this is their last chance to build a winner. Now, if they make the additions and it doesn't work out, then so be it. I think it's time to move it in a new direction, but you got to at least try. You got to give yourself a shot. You can't just get Andres Jimenez and then be done with your offseason. I think that's enough. It's not.
Especially with how bad last season was. You'd think they'd be all in on Burnes, and maybe they are. maybe they are smart or not. Maybe they are going for Burns like right now. Maybe he would just rather go to San Francisco where his hometown is. Like that's a very possible outcome of this, and an unfortunate outcome once again. But if that's the case, like if they miss out on Burns again, pivot a lot. You're gonna have to pivot and spend a lot on Santander or Teoscar. But like that being said, they're still available, so I'm not gonna speak as if they're gone yet. It's just it's getting. I think Burns signs tonight or tomorrow, Peter. I really, really do.
Okay, well, I hope you're right. But yeah, it can't just end at Burns though, like we touched on. Uh, Now it can't end regardless. You need a couple of pieces here, but if you get Burns, cool. You still need bats. If you don't get Burns, fine. You still need bats. That should be the number one priority right now. So if they go out, spend a ton of money on Burns, like 250 to 275,
Yeah,
let's say for the sake of argument,
it's a pretty accurate
then
number, I think.
what do you do next?
You
Well,
still need
you
an
have
outfielder.
to, because at that point, let's say you go to 275, right? You're over your luxury tax. You're over your metrics or what your evaluations had you before the offseason. So
Yeah,
I think by that point, all of that is just thrown out the window. Like
yeah,
if you get Burns, to me, that's a luxury signing. That is a signing where you're pushing all your chips in the middle of the table and saying, we're getting this guy because we don't need him, but we want him, and he's going to make us significantly better, but we're not stopping there. That's what a Burns deal to me signifies.
yep,
But if you don't get him, I still think you should still have that same mentality, but just with the offensive.
yeah. I mean, I agree. If they ultimately sign Corbin Burns, I think that's the first of. I think they're just gonna go all in at that point. And all in might just mean going out and getting a Teoscar Hernandez or an Anthony Santander and then someone else. But it would be their big signing. It would be one of the blockbuster signings. And I'm leaning towards him maybe signing with the Giants at this point. But again, if he signs with the Jays, I'd be more than happy with. I'd be ecstatic actually. I would be very excited if he ends up signing with the Jays. And I think mainly because more moves are coming at that point. There's no way they just stop
Yeah.
at Burns. It wouldn't really make any sense at all. That being said, this front office doesn't really make sense. So
Yeah, no, it doesn't. But Nick, let me give you a sort of pivot scenario here, okay? So let's say you don't get Burns, but you get Anthony Santander, Yohan Moncada, and Sean Manaea. Is that a playoff team?
yeah,
You think so?
yeah, I think so. I think it is.
Ask the chat. Ask the chat that.
Okay.
Let's ask the chat.
Type yes if you think that's a playoff team. No if you don't. You want to repeat the options again? It's Manaea.
Yes.
Good.
So Manaea as your probably a mid-tier starter, probably your number 3 or 4, and then you have Yohan Moncada hoping on a bounce back there, or let's say Anthony Santander or Teoscar.
Yeah. So you get a corner outfielder. You get your temporary third baseman. I think it's a playoff team. You also have Andres Jimenez. It's another 4 wins. Like I don't mind that either. Random guy. I'm gonna put you in timeout. Stop spamming so much. I think that is a. I think it is. Give me Bueller over Manaea. Higher ceiling, lower floor. Like I guess you're right. There is pivots if they don't get any of those guys, but like that would also be a pretty big task, getting a lot of
It
those.
would be.
That's
It would be
4 guys, but I mean, yeah, I like it.
3 guys.
3
3
guys.
guys.
Manaea, Santander, and Moncada, and then you also have your infield's Moncada, Bichette, Jimenez, Vladdy. Outfield would be Santander, Dalton Varsho when healthy, George Springer. I mean, that's a pretty good team. You have Alejandro Kirk in the catcher position. You're hoping for a Moncada bounce back here, and if he gives you a bounce back here, but then you're hoping on a Moncada bounce back, and you're hoping on a Andres Jimenez, a bit of a bounce back, and no regression from Santander. But if everyone clicks there, you could be looking at a very good team.
Yeah, and you get 2 switch hitters as well, which is a nice bonus to have. So, yeah, there's a ton of options that the Blue Jays can go with, but you need to do something. I think that has been stressed enough, whether it's one of the big fish, whether it's someone kind of on the mid-tier level, you have to do something and add a bunch of pieces. As currently constructed, it's just not good.
It's not, and we'll keep you up to date with it all. Probably wrap up there now. It's almost been an hour and a half we've been live, but Peter, it's gonna be a, I think it's gonna be a busy evening, but at the very least, we'll keep you up to date with it all. And like usual, Peter, it's a scary time because now we've shifted our focus a little bit. I know you're not as all in. I'm all in on Burns here. It's like Juan Soto V2 for me. Obviously, not as exciting, but like I think the more exciting factor for me is if they get Corbin Burns, you kind of know they're going to transition into some bigger moves there. Whereas if they miss out on Burns, there's a lot more question marks about whether or not this team is going to be a playoff team. As Keegan Matheson literally just dropped a tweet about Corbin Burns here. I'm gonna get that up. But yeah, I mean, just want to read out the tweet. Keegan Matheson, nothing too crazy. Some Blue Jays notes. Yes, they're in on Corbin Burns, and he's felt likelier than Max Fried going back to before Fried signed. Any attempt to frame their budget is guessing, though, when it can change for a unique player, and they're up against a very motivated market. So it would be a part of the special budget, Peter, and they are heavily in on Max Fried.
Interesting. On Max Fried.
Corbin Burns, sorry. More than
okay.
sorry. Keegan Matheson said that have always been more in on Burns than they ever were for Max Fried.
Okay, that's
so a little bit of insight. A little bit of insight. So I mean, again, the budget is the big thing here. Whether or not they're actually gonna use that special budget we both allude to is still a question mark, and we hope so. But at the end of the day, it's still up in the air. Peter, any final thoughts? If Burns signs, one of us will have something out for you guys, unless it happens during a very unfortunate time. But either way, someone will be available for it. Me or Peter. Peter, any final thoughts before this might be the last time we see him until Burns signs? So, in case that is, give your final words of wisdom here.
Well, just thank you to everyone for all the support, and shout out to you for holding it down while I was at work there today. So hopefully we do get some sort of decision imminently, whether it's tonight or early tomorrow, so we can have you guys covered as soon as it happens, because trying our best to get the news out as quick as possible. But,
it's a busy time.
You never know. These baseball executives do not sleep.
No.
So it's hard. It is hard.
Random times. Hard. I mean, yesterday, no one expected that Andres Gimenez trade, and boom, it happened. And that was about 6 Eastern or so. So we'll keep you up to date with all of that. So make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're new. Again, thank you to everybody who donated, everybody who showed support. And we'll be back for a video and a stream, I'm sure, very, very soon. And at the very least, a video later tonight or tomorrow for you all. So take it easy. And hopefully next time I see you guys, Corbin Burns is a Blue Jay. And have a great night. We'll see you guys soon.